These are 20 insane facts about football you'll find very hard to believe. And the first one is just mind-blowing. You don't need 11 players to start a game. Yeah, I know, insane. Turns out the minimum requirement to begin an official match is 7 players. The law states that the maximum requirement to start a match is an outfield size of 10 players and a goalkeeper to complete 11. But the key word here is that it's the maximum, and this ultimately means that teams can field less than 11 players, but not go lower than 7. Imagine that, starting a game with 2 to 3 men down and the referee saying it's allowed. I'd want to see that one day. Turns out this rule applies to the entire match too. If a team receives more than 3 red cards to outfield players, and that team is left with less than 7 players, the match automatically ends, and the other team is given a 3-0 walkover win. Don't know if the goals would count in this one. One place I do know it didn't count was in Madagascar, where one match produced the most ridiculous scoreline in football history. 149-0. And here's how. In the 2002 Madagascar top flight, Stade Olympique de Le Mans and AS Adima were going for the title. The thing is, by the time the final game of the Seal rolled around, everyone knew who was gonna win. AS Adima had the upper hand with points. So, how did this all go wrong? Well, SOE felt the only reason AS Adima had gone clear of them in the league was because of a refereeing decision in the last match between the two, and they felt cheated as a result. So, the next time these two teams met, they wanted to show the world what they thought about match fixing and incorrect refereeing decisions in the league. And here comes the crazy part. All 149 goals scored were own goals. Yup, the SOE players were putting the ball in the back of their net on purpose, at a rate of 36 seconds per goal. Talk about being petty. Up next, though, it's a petty record. The only time Super Mario wasn't taking the headlines. It was actually for good. On the final day of the 2012 Premier League season, Manchester City faced QPR. Knowing what they had to do, the mission was simple: win, and they'd be champions of the league for the first time in 44 years. But with less than 5 minutes to play, it was all going wrong. City were losing 2-1. Then Edin Dzeko equalized to make it 2-2. And with less than 90 seconds to go, this happened. Yeah, Aguero, but that's not the point here. Mario Balotelli gave Aguero the assist to win the game. And it's interesting to note that that's the only time Balotelli ever registered an assist in the Premier League. Ice cold. The ratio is insane. And speaking of ratios, it doesn't get any better than Kingsley Coman's knack for trophies. The man is a collector. The previous season unfortunately broke one of Coman's records. He was on a run of winning league titles in every season he'd played in. Even though Coman and Bayern didn't win the league, his trophy cabinet is incredible. And it gets even better when you realize Coman has won 12 league titles in his career, and yet he's only played in 11 professional seasons. He's won league titles in France, but he won 2 league titles in the 2015-2016 season with Bayern Munich and Juventus after a loan spell to Juve that season. I'd bet Harry Kane wishes he was Coman sometimes. And if you're a Bayern fan, stuff like this is what you want to hear, especially when you realize Bayern has a pretty special relationship with the World Cup. Since 1982, every World Cup has had at least one Bayern player on the team. Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, Paul Breitner, and Wolfgang Dremmler all played for West Germany when they lost 3-1 to Italy in 1982. Lothar Matthaus, Rummenigge, and Rudi Völler played for Germany in the 1986 defeat to Argentina. Matthaus was joined by Bayern teammates Jürgen Klinsmann, Andreas Brehme, Klaus Augenthaler, and Jürgen Kohler in 1990. Jorginho, not the one you know now. A former Brazilian pro back in the day, played for Bayern when he won the competition in 1994. Vicente Lizarazu won it with France in 1998. Oliver Kahn, Thomas Link, and Jens Jeremies lost it with Germany against Brazil in 2002. Willy Sagnol lost with France to Italy in 2006. Arjen Robben lost with the Netherlands in 2010. Philipp Lahm, Manuel Neuer, Bastian Schweinsteiger, Thomas Müller, Toni Kroos, and Mario Götze were part of the victorious German team of 2014. Blaise Matuidi continued the streak in 2018 with France, and in 2022, Dayot Upamecano and Benjamin Pavard made sure it kept going. Wow! It's one positive streak Bayern supporters would hope keeps going for long. And here's one the English fans won't like. Since the inception of the Premier League, no English manager has won the competition. Damn, that's tough. We've seen a Spanish manager like Pep Guardiola win La Liga, Italian managers like Carlo Ancelotti and Antonio Conte win the Serie A, and German managers like Jurgen Klopp win the Bundesliga. It's interesting to note that all three names I just mentioned have won the Premier League as foreign managers before an English manager ever did. In fact, the closest any English manager has gotten to achieving the feat is 5th. Damn! I've got one crazy mission for all these successful managers though. They could probably take on the task of breaking a World Cup jinx. Since the start of the World Cup, no foreign coach has ever won the competition with a foreign team. Let me break this down for you. What this means is that every coach who's won the World Cup has been a recognized member or citizen of the country that won it. From Lionel Scaloni in 2022 with Argentina, Didier Deschamps in 2018 with France, Joachim Löw with Germany in 2014, Vicente Del Bosque with Spain in 2010, Marcelo Lippi with Italy in 2006, all these guys were citizens of the country they won it. That's gonna be a heck of a challenge. And if you're a Manchester United fan, here's a little bit of history for you. One of the greatest managers in the club's history isn't who you think he is. Before Sir Alex arrived at United, they were a more than decent club back in the day, before the Munich air disaster at least. And that's because, amongst other things, one man had come in and changed the club. Sir Matt Busby and his introduction of the Busby Babes made United a very strong team back in the mid-90s. The shocking thing is though, Sir Matt Busby becoming the manager of Manchester United wasn't because he'd been dreaming of it. It only happened because he was tired of sitting and waiting around at the club of his dreams. Liverpool. See, Sir Matt Busby used to play for Liverpool before the outbreak of the Second World War. And after the war, he'd been given the role of an assistant coach, but wanted the top job. So he took up the vacant coaching position at Manchester United. Back to the World Cup now, and it's a man who's got a record so unique he knows no one is breaking it anytime soon. Dejan Stankovic is the only player to play in the World Cup with 3 different teams. He played for Yugoslavia at their first World Cup in 1998, then he played for Serbia and Montenegro in 2006, and when Serbia finally gained independence in 2010, you'd have probably guessed it by now, Stankovic was a part of the team. Playing for 3 different countries at the World Cup is wild. The guy must have like 3 different passports or something. The World Cup has seen some crazy moments over the years, but one that will always stay weird is a shocking discovery in 2010 that stunned the whole world. Spain won the World Cup in 2010, but it doesn't mean they were the country with the best 100% record in the competition. In fact, far from it. Spain lost their opening game at the World Cup, and if every other team got eliminated, there's no way anyone would have finished with the 100% non-losing record in the competition, right? Well, if you thought that, you'd be wrong. Just like you'd also be wrong if you haven't subscribed to Mr. Football yet. I mean, seriously dude, what the heck? You should know better. Hit that like button straight up. You guessed who had the 100% non-losing record in the competition? The only team who didn't lose any one of their games at the tournament? Well, it's these guys. New Zealand. There's no way you'd have guessed that. They drew all 3 games in the competition and got eliminated with lower points. But a record is a record still. Some say records are meant to be broken, just like rules. And I used to think that was cap talk, until I found something from 2003 that's just off, man. Get this. In 2003, Inter Milan and AC Milan faced each other in the Champions Knockout stage. And just in case you don't know who these two are, here's a quick one. They're both traditional city rivals in the same league, and both share the same stadium. AC Milan named their side of the stadium the San Siro, while Inter Milan named theirs the Giuseppe Meazza. But in reality, it's still the same place, so it made no sense when Milan knocked Inter out of the Champions League in 2003 by away goals. Yo, UEFA, they played the same match twice on the same pitch. It's not adding up. Some things just don't make sense, while some others leave you stunned, like finding out Ronaldo Nazario and Zlatan Ibrahimovic have a bizarre piece of history in the Champions League. The two of them had illustrious careers, playing for some of the best teams in Europe, but they never won the Champions League. It gets even worse too, starting with Ronaldo Nazario. He played for the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid, Inter Milan, and AC Milan, all 4 teams who'd won the Champions League, and yet he never won it with any of them. In Zlatan's case, it's even worse. His count is 5. Ajax, Juventus, AC Milan, Inter Milan, and Barcelona, and yet Zlatan never won the Champions League. In R9's case, he did manage to win the Ballon d'Or, At least that's a plus. Winning the award for being the best player in the world is a crazy feat. Usually, most times, it's the outfield players that get all the recognition. But in 1963, one man broke the jinx: the legendary Lev Yashin. Around this time, the Ballon d'Or was created and recognized as the award for being the best player in the world. Yashin was immense. He was a towering figure for both the USSR and his club side Dynamo Moscow. Truth is, Yashin was actually in line to receive the award even earlier. He'd been nominated 6 times already, between 1956 and 1963. But by 1963, he was on another level. He helped Dynamo Moscow win the USSR championship after going 3 years without a trophy. And his record of only 7 goals conceded in 27 games is remarkable. Incredible stuff. A legend like that. FIFA got his name spelled correctly on all awards and pronunciations too. Don't tell Michael Obi though. I'd bet you didn't know he played his entire career with a name that wasn't even his. He won everything at Chelsea: the Champions League, Europa League, FA Cup, League Cup, Community Shield. His trophy cabinet was full, but Michael Obi was winning everything with a fake name. See, in 2005, Michael was supposed to get registered by the Nigerian FA, but due to the rush in trying to get his papers done, they made a mistake in his name. His name is actually John Michael Obi, but they spelled it as Michael, and it sort of just worked out for him. Michael didn't bother to get a name change since he was winning already, and I guess you can't blame the guy. If it works, it works. I wonder if Michael knows about the vegetable rule at Stamford Bridge. He has to. They all do. In the 2000s, a group of protesters were trying to make their voices heard at Stamford Bridge. They needed a unique chant they knew fellow protesters would be able to recognize anywhere. So they started a chant that had to do with vegetables, celery to be precise. And it became so popular that fans graduated from singing about it to bringing it to live matches. They were coming to games with celery. Soon after that, it became even more intense. Some of the home fans started throwing celery onto the pitch before, during, and after matches. A lot of people copied this, and at that point, the management at Chelsea knew they had to do something. So they banned celery from the bridge. And what this means is any fan who gets caught bringing celery to Stamford Bridge could face a lifetime ban. Okay guys, we're into the top 5 now. And at number 5, you'd never believe these two are actually relatives. Luka Modric and Mark Viduka. They look like they're from opposite sides. The reality is, they're related by blood. Modric has documented his life and how he grew up in Croatia, before moving clubs to Spurs and then Real Madrid. The thing is, way before that period, Mark Viduka's dad, Joe, left Croatia in the 1960s in search of better working conditions and to leave war. So he moved to Australia and started living there. That's how Mark Viduka was born. And when the two of them came face-to-face in the Premier League, with Modric playing for Spurs and Viduka for Leeds, you can imagine how family time would have been in both houses. That's my cousin, bro. To number 4 now. And what if I told you an Adidas genius stroke with a pro footballer was a mistake? The first time David Beckham wore Adidas Predators, it was like they were tailor-made for him. But the truth is, they weren't. They didn't even design it with him in mind. Adidas Predators were the latest type of fashion back then, and everyone was trying to get a pair. Beckham is a size 8, and according to how the details go, Adidas only had one pair of size 8s available, and they made them for Rangers' Charlie Miller. Beckham didn't have a choice. Even though the cleats he wore had the name Charlie on the tongue, he decided to wear them like that. And after scoring the epic halfway line goal from the halfway line, Beckham and Adidas immediately clicked, and it became a love story that never looked back. Over to Spain for number 3 now, and this one is guaranteed to leave you scratching your head and asking what the heck you just heard. Lionel Messi and Neymar have a shocking piece of information with La Liga. Now, Messi made his debut in the league in 2003. At the time, Neymar was still only 11 years old and didn't even know he wanted to go pro yet. By the time Neymar joined the club in 2014, Messi had officially spent 11 seasons at Barca. So you'd find it hard to believe when I saw there's an exclusive award Neymar beat Messi to in his first season. Neymar won the La Liga Player of the Month award before Messi, despite having played 3 months in La Liga to Messi's 11 years. The reason is that the La Liga Player of the Month award only became a thing that season, and the first time the award was released, Neymar had an exceptional month and totally deserved the award. I told you it would leave you stunned. Same way you're about to find out Kevin De Bruyne isn't completely European. He was Belgium's captain at the last World Cup and has spent all his career playing in Europe for the likes of Chelsea, Wolfsburg, Genk, and Manchester City. But what if I told you Kevin De Bruyne could have been playing at the African Cup of Nations if he'd chosen differently? See, De Bruyne isn't completely European. His mom is actually from Burundi, down in Africa, and because of that, he directly qualifies and would have been able to represent them if he wanted to. Think about it. Imagine De Bruyne pulling to the AFCON match versus Angola. It would have been wild stuff. But now, guys, it's time for the top fact reveal. And at number 1, it's the only team in the world who's got Barcelona's number. When you think about Barcelona and their classic rivals over the years, teams like Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, AC Milan, Manchester United, and the likes of Juventus come to mind. But the thing is, Barcelona at some point has faced and beaten these teams, at least once. Heck, they've even beaten some of them in finals. However, guys, there's one team in the world Barcelona has faced on more than one occasion and never managed to beat. In fact, it's so crazy that they've faced these guys 4 times and still haven't ever managed a win. Scratch that, haven't even managed a draw against them. And you wouldn't be able to believe who they are. Dundee United. Barcelona and Dundee United have met in European competitions 4 times, and on each occasion, Dundee United has won. They've only conceded twice against them in the process. Pretty sure they'd rather keep their record intact than face this current Barca team now. But now that I think about it, they might have a shot at getting a pop out of this current Barca team. La Blaugrana fell off. From the highs of balling with Messi, Suarez, and Neymar to an 8-2 defeat and being unable to register players. Want to know what exactly happened to Barcelona? All you gotta do is hit that next video to find out.